Greetings, Raz. As per your suggestion, I thought I would fire up the screen cap software and do a little. The hell's going on here? Oh, yeah, great. Apparently, I need more memory. It just killed the Aero Glass visuals. Anyway, I don't understand why it does that. I mean, I've got tons of system resources. Sorry, you probably can't see this pop up here. Let's just get rid of that. I've got a quad core processor, pretty meaty processor. It's 2.8 gigahertz per core, and I've got 6 gigs of memory. So I don't know what the problem is and why it does that. But anyway, maybe it'll help the video run a little bit faster. All right. So anyway, you were wondering how the heck I do such beautiful looking titles. Well, the long and the short of it is I did find a tutorial on YouTube a while back. I would have just sent you a link to it, except I can't remember what it is. And besides, I'm sure you'd prefer me giving it the personal Zarenizer touch anyway. By the way, excuse my voice. As you can probably tell from the raspiness, I am battling a cold. And I'm battling it with coffee. Okay, so what we have here, of course, is Vegas Pro version 10, 64-bit edition. And what we have up here is just 2 of the different versions of the Multimedia Chronicles title sequence. So I won't bother going into how I put these together, but, just to give you a quick look. Ta-da! That should look familiar. And you'll notice there are no episode titles on it. It's just the main title for the show. And it stops after 15 seconds. So that's the 15-second version. Here we actually have a longer version, which is exactly the same, except you'll notice that the star field just keeps going and going and going. Yeah, when I originally did the star field background sequence, I did it as a full 60-second sequence, and then the Multimedia Chronicles title is actually green screened on top of that. I did, of course, the Multimedia Chronicles 3D title in Cool 3D Pro. Was it Cool 3D Pro? Cool 3D Studio Pro? Something like that. Anyway, Cool 3D. Now long defunct program from the long defunct ULEAD. Okay, so anyway. So we're going to use the 45-second version just for the purposes of demonstration. Now, if you understand how the overlay feature works in Vegas, it's pretty simple. Whatever's on the bottom is sort of your base layer. So if we go in here and we insert another video track, there we go. So now anything that I put in this video track will be overlaid on top of here, and so on and so forth. The nice thing about Vegas Pro is it actually gives you unlimited layering. So you can have as many video and audio tracks as you have memory for. So what we're going to do is we're going to move back a little bit here. I usually like to start the title just after the logo flies into our faces here. So let's give it about a half second there. Okay, so then what we do, of course, is just insert text media. And it takes its sweet time, because apparently capturing while I'm doing this really taxes the system resources. Okay, so let's do, what can we call this here? I know. We'll call it Razman. And I actually want to move this up. So just going to go top center, which is okay, I guess. I usually like to move it up a little bit more. So just use the arrow keys. Just basically select the box in there, and you can move it up and down as much as you want. And it gives you the coordinates up here. So if you want to be really fancy and really precise, you can actually type in coordinates. But I don't usually bother with that. So let's pick a different font for this. I don't know what we want. Let's... I have like way more fonts than I would ever possibly need. Yeah. Razman. And it doesn't need to be bold, so let's just take the bold off. And there we go. And then, of course, you know all about this. You can have it from 8-point text, which you can't even read, all the way up to 504, apparently, which is insanely huge. but we'll just leave it at the default 72 point. That should be fine. Okay, so then we want to go over to properties, and properties will allow us, of course, to select a color for the text. So let's make Razman sort of a nice light blue. Very nice. And you can adjust it however you want in here as well. So there we go. That's actually pretty close to the color of the original Multimedia Chronicles logo, isn't it? There you go. You've been MMC'd. Okay, now, unlike other editing programs that lets you change the color of the text within a single line, this is one of the shortcomings of Vegas that really irritates the shit out of me. If you want to have different colored text, you have to put each different colored text on a different line, or like in a different video track. So we're going to put a different secondary video track in here and throw in another bit of text. So we'll do Razman rules, and let's make this something spectacular. Let's do, where is it here? Brad. Yeah, we'll do Brad. I don't know why that's called Brad, but there we go. We'll take the, actually no, we'll leave the bold on for this one because we got some more nice little fragments on the letters. So let's increase this to 108. That looks good. And we'll make this one red. That's a little too orangey. Let's make it pure red. There we go. Okay. So there we go. So we got two titles on there, different colors. And to do each one in different color, we have it on a different track. So again, I'm going to throw in another video track. And we'll put in one more line of text. Yeah, this is a bit of a pain in the ass. I really wish that they would include a feature where, for example, you could just highlight one word and then take that over to properties and, you know, make that one green. But you can see it makes the whole damn thing green. Or like in other editor programs where you can highlight a letter and have each letter a different color. I am unaware of any way to do this in Vegas, and it pisses me off. So let's go the universe. And we'll put that at the bottom. Just going to move it down a little bit more. And we'll bump up the size a little bit. Maybe make it 90. There we go. Okay, and let's find a nice spacey font. I actually have some Star Trek fonts. Let's see what we got here. We got some Trek. That's not bad. Ooh, that one's nice. Let's go with that one. That's the Deep Space Nine Hollow font. And let's keep that a little more. Okay, cool. So we got three different colors, and everything's on a different line. And there we go. So, yeah. So I guess just to sum up, if you want lines on of different color or words of a different color, you have to put them in their own video track. Now, for example, I could do a block of text and then just leave a space for one word and then have that word a different color. But then you got to fart around with it a little bit more. So next thing we want to do is you're probably wondering, like, okay, you know how to do all this stuff, but how do I make it look all shiny and pretty? Well, that's where the tutorial came in handy. So what you want to do is actually go down to your tabs here, or I think you can actually select it up here somewhere too. Somewhere. I think it's this one, Video Track Effects. But basically, you want to go to the Video Effects. So the Video Effects, you got this huge selection of stuff here. I might have a little bit more than you because I've got some plugins here, but this is one of the base effects that comes with Vegas, so you should have this. And you want to go down to this one, which is the Bump Map. So Bump Map. And then what you want to do is pick this one, Lower Left Spotlight. So let's put this onto the Razman text and see what it does. So we just drag and drop it on there. And ooh, look at that. Suddenly it looks all metallic and cool. And you get this little control panel here. And there's a few different things you can do. There's directional, omnidirectional. I usually just keep it on Spotlight, because with Spotlight you get a nice highlight that you can position. So what I usually like to do is have it so that the middle is kind of bright and then it tapers off towards the ends. So if we move this a little bit, hang on a second. Let's bump up the shininess, and we'll increase the bump height. The bump height basically gives it that more 3D-ish look. So like if we take this right down, you'll see that it looks more 2D, but you still have the nice sort of lighting effect on it. But then if you crank it up, it makes it look a little bit more 3D. So that's pretty nice. So we're actually going to bring this down a little bit, maybe about halfway. There we go. So 0.5, that should be good. It's hard to tell from the preview sometimes, just because the preview is so small compared to the final edited product. But in 1080p, this should look really nice. So then you have the intensity, which is basically just how bright your light is. So you can adjust that. You have your focus, which basically increases or decreases the size of the spot. So actually, if I move the spot over a little bit, I put it there, and we adjust the focus, you can see that a little better. So we want it to be a little bit, there we go. Okay. So that's odd. I don't know why it's kind of tricky to position sometimes, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe like that. There we go. That'll do, I guess. That's okay. Actually, no. Can we bring it? Ah, there we go. Ooh, that looks nice and moody. Let's just pull it back a little bit here. There we go. Okay. So you basically just grab this little thing and pull it, and drag it around until you sort of get the effect that you're looking for. So we'll, actually, I'd kind of like it a little bit brighter. So let's put it over here, and then bump the focus up a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. I usually have the shininess cranked because I like it to be shiny, and it gives it more kind of reflectiveness, which is cool. Ambience, I'm not entirely sure what it does, but it just seems to affect the mood of it a little bit. So we'll keep that down there. Okay. And there you go. So we did Razman, looks nice and metallic and cool. And really, that's all there is to it. You just use this single video effect and fart around with it a little bit until you get it looking the way you want. And it gives you that cool kind of texture to it. So we'll put this over on rules. It didn't really seem to make a big difference, probably because it's very intense red. So you notice in the case of rules, we just did like full red, and it doesn't seem to be having much of an effect. So one way you can adjust that is go back into your text screen here and over to properties where you adjusted the color. And you can see this bar at the bottom here is mostly red, but then it slowly goes into purple. Now just ignore the fact that this is red, green, and blue, because that's just going to mess with your head. Don't worry about it. Just worry about what it shows in the color here, in the color bars. So this is up to red, and you can see as you change this, it changes the values that are available in these other two bars. So we crank this all the way up to red, and then what we'll do is we'll move this up a little bit. Just a little bit. And actually we'll move the green up a little bit as well. Ah, there we go. See, now when you start to adjust these ones, the way the bump map feature registers these colors is it puts them into the highlights. So it gives you a little bit more 3D-ness, basically. So if we bring this down a bit and bring this, we're getting a little bit more of a 3D effect there. I don't know. Let's pull this up, pull this down. It takes a bit of tweaking sometimes. I don't want it so pink. It's so pink. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. So whatever. That's good enough. That'll do for now. So then we go back into our effect, and you can basically go straight into the effect just by clicking on the little effect button here, and it'll bring up. Say if you've got some additional effects in here, it'll actually bring them up in a little timeline, and then you can fart around with it. So with the bump map, the cool thing about it, I should mention also, the cool thing about all the effects is in Vegas Pro is all the effects are keyframeable. So you can actually add keyframes in and have it adjusting and changing. Maybe we'll play around with that a little bit in the last one here, and we'll see what we can do. So we don't need to animate this one, but what we want to do is increase the bump height. And increasing the bump height will give us a little bit more of the highlights, so it looks a little bit nicer. And we're just going to move this a little bit. Just kind of got to get it just right. Yeah, let's bring the focus down a bit, maybe. There we go. Okay. And then bring it back. And come on. Why are you not cooperating here? Intensity. No. Ambience. Ambiance. Ah, there we go. That looks pretty good. So the nice thing about this is you can really play around with it and get, very intense effects or very subtle effects, depending how much you want to play around with it. All right, so that's good enough. Whatever. Okay, so let's head in here, and I'm thinking that the hollow lettering isn't going to look quite as good. So let's maybe change this to that one, or maybe that one. These are some other Trek ones. Oh, there we go. Old school Star Trek. And let's, because it's old school Star Trek, let's actually make that one yellow. There we go. Okay. Okie dokie. So, you don't believe me this is old school Star Trek? Well, look at this. Okay, tell me that isn't the old school Star Trek font. Come on. All right, there we go. Okie dokie. So we got that. That looks good. Yeah, we do have a little bit of other colors here for highlight purposes. Let's make it kind of gold. Okay, so this should look pretty good. So again, we bring down our lower left spotlight from the bump map feature. Oh, and look at that. That's nice. I like that. So let's just bring this over. Oh, yeah. Now that is nice. Nice and metallic looking. I like that. So I'm going to increase the bump height a little bit. Give it a little bit. You don't have to go maximum all the time, but I like to, so screw it. Shininess, a little bit shinier. And everything else actually looks good. So, okay. So I'm going to show you, just sort of give you a basic idea of how the keyframing looks. If we go into this here, and we do, what was I doing? I forgot what I was doing. Oh yeah, we want to go into the effects. So we go into the effects button for Razman, and we click on animate. Okay, so if we go through the sequence here, you can see that it just, that's all there is to it. So if we just play, there we go. There's nothing happening. So great, fascinating, amazing. Okay, so what we can do is we can throw in some keyframes. So if we start, maybe we'll start, actually no, let's start on the other side. Can we start on the other side? Are we going to be annoying? We can move the center of the spotlight over a little bit. There we go. Okay, so let's start there. That will be our first keyframe. And the whole sequence, I believe, is 5 seconds. So we'll move forward to down here you have your time marker. So we'll move to 2 seconds and 15 frames, because of course we're running at 30 frames per second. And we'll drop another keyframe in there. And for that keyframe, we're going to move this. Oh, you kind of have to move the. It doesn't move. It doesn't move the time marker in your timeline when you're moving it in the timeline up here. It just moves. Yeah, so you kind of have to move things around a little bit. So let's. Wait a minute. Where the hell are we going here? Okay, so we started over there. All right, so we'll put it more or less centered, and we'll up the focus so that we have more brightness there. Okay, and then we'll take this to the end of the sequence and add another keyframe in there. And for some reason it just doesn't like to. Okay, this is the step frame here, which is quite handy. Okay, and then finally, I guess we'll put it over here. Okay, that should do. All right. So now, if we take a look at that, go back to the sequence, you can see that it actually moves the light around and does some shiny stuff. Stop it! Stop it! I didn't want to start it over again. Okay. So yeah, so it's not, I mean, it's not perfect because this is just kind of a rough example, but you get the idea. I mean, you can fart around with it until you get something that you like. And then, of course, what I like to do is I like to fade the title in and out. So you just you can just zoom in and out on the timeline just by putting the pointer anywhere on it, and then scrolling with your mouse wheel. Now, one nice thing is, say I want to zoom in on this part, just put the time marker there and zoom in with your mouse wheel, and it'll go straight in on that part. So it'll always keep the time marker centered. So wherever you want to, so it's really handy. So wherever you want to zoom in, just put it where you want and zoom in. So we actually want to zoom in on the middle here. So you notice how it recentered it there? So if I jump over here, it'll go over there. If I jump over here, it'll go over there. Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of little features like that in Vegas that I think make it really easy. One of which is fading your titles in and out. So you just drag from the upper corner here, and you'll see the fade thing. There's other things you can do as well, like opacity. For example, you can make it transparent. You can adjust the transparency. You can shorten the clip by just dragging on the end of it. But I mainly just use the fade. So you got the fade here, usually 1 second. So you can see it's 1 second of fade there. And if you right click on the fade, you can actually go up here to fade type, and you have all these different types of fades. So you can just do like a straight linear fade where it'll just fade in at a consistent rate, or you can do this one, which is kind of it'll start off slow, pick up speed, and then slow down again. And there's a bunch of different ones you can choose from. I usually stick with the default one, which is this kind of S-curve one, which seems to be a nice, pleasing fade. Doesn't look too mechanical. And then so fade in at one end, fade out at the other, and there we go. And then I'll just throw another quick title in here. One of 78. And this one we'll just make purple. Just to show you how quick and easy it is. Boom. A lot of the time you don't even need to adjust it. Crank up the shininess, crank up the bump height. There we go. Beautiful title. Fade it in. Whoops. Fade it out. And this is just a short one, so we're going to reduce it in length by 2 seconds. We're going to move it over here to be touching the other one. Zoom in a little bit. Slide it over 10 frames. And there we go. So then we don't actually need all 45 seconds of the star field. So what I like to do is... where are we going here? There we go. So what I like to do is actually see... Now, if I've just faded out like this, I don't know how well this will look because it's not rendered or anything, but if we just fade it out at the same time, it doesn't quite look as good. So I actually like to extend this about half a second, so 15 frames, and then look at this. See, isn't that nicer? So it fades out the title and then fades out the star field, but they're so close together you kind of think they're going at the same time, but they're really not. And that's basically it in a nutshell. So now, if we take a look at the whole sequence here, let's just move this up to larger screen size so you can see a little better. So if we play the whole sequence. It's choppy because it isn't rendered yet. And there you go. That's basically it. So that's how you make pretty titles. So I guess to summarize, really all you need to do is do titles the way you normally do. Just add in this bump map feature, and that's all it takes. And just fart around with the spotlight a little bit until you get the effect you desire. You know, play around with the colors a little bit so you get more interesting highlights around the edges and stuff. And that's it. And I think you'll agree those titles look pretty nice. So, I mean, if we, just to give you an idea of the contrast here, if we take these effects off, there we go. That's how it looks without effects. But then if we undo them back into position, that's how it looks with effects. Pretty cool, eh? Alrighty. Well, I hope that answers your question, Raz. Hope I managed to help, and that we'll be seeing some beautiful titles from you real soon. Alrighty. Well, I'll basically do another response video at some point to answering your other questions. In the meantime, I hope this helps you to carry on the never-ending quest to make better videos. Alrighty. Happy to help, and hope this helped out some of you guys watching as well. Alrighty. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Till then, thanks for watching, and sayonara.